As soon as TJ Lane entered the room, he immediately began implementing his plan. He swiftly removed his button-down shirt, revealing a white t-shirt with the word "killer" scribbled across it. With a smug smile on his face, he proudly displayed it. The concept of youth often evokes images of innocence. But the youngest serial killers in history starkly defy this ideal. Their chilling actions serve as a disturbing testament to the dark potential that resides within individuals. In this exploration, we delve into the unsettling journeys of these individuals whose early lives were marred by inexplicable acts of violence. Eric Smith. Eric Smith, born on January 22, 1980, became infamous for committing a horrific crime at a remarkably young age. At just 13 years old, Smith shocked the world by taking the life of 4-year-old Derek Roby in Steuben County, New York in 1993. This tragic event sent shockwaves through the community, raising profound questions about the capacity for violence in adolescence and the complexities of the juvenile criminal justice system. On that fateful day, Smith encountered Derek Roby, who was walking alone to a summer camp. Seizing the opportunity, Smith lured the young boy into a secluded wooded area, where he subjected him to a vicious and prolonged assault. The nature and brutality of the crime shook the local community to its core, igniting outrage and disbelief. Following the discovery of Derek's lifeless body, a massive manhunt ensued. With his distinctive red hair and glasses, Eric Smith became the prime suspect. He was apprehended shortly after and quickly confessed to the crime. Smith's confession, coupled with substantial forensic evidence, left no doubt about his guilt. At the time of the crime, Smith was only 13 years old, prompting intense scrutiny of the juvenile justice system. Many questioned whether a child of Smith's age could fully comprehend the gravity of his actions, and whether holding him to the same standards as adult offenders was the right decision. These questions became the focal point of the legal proceedings. After a lengthy trial, Smith was found guilty and charged with second-degree murder. His defense attorney argued that he should be tried as a juvenile. However, the court ruled him as an adult due to the severity of his crime. Smith was handed a sentence of 9 years to life in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 28 years. Smith's release after serving 28 years in prison revealed several important details about the case. When Smith's grandfather was interviewed, he echoed Eric's words, saying, "I saw the blonde kid, and I wanted to hurt him." His grandfather, like the rest of the world, was shocked by his grandson's crime. Smith's case has since sparked debates about the effectiveness of rehabilitation and the appropriate punishment for juvenile offenders. Some argue that adolescents, with their developing brains and potential for change, should be given a chance at rehabilitation and eventual reintegration into society. Michael Hernandez. Michael Hernandez was born in February 1988 in Miami, Florida. Initially, he appeared as an intelligent and well-behaved child, known for his exceptional academic abilities. However, beneath this facade of normalcy, there were underlying issues that would later contribute to a horrifying crime. In 2004, at the tender age of 14, Hernandez committed a brutal act that sent shockwaves across the nation. His shocking crime involved luring his classmate, Jamie Goff, into a bathroom stall at Southwood Middle School in Miami. There, he proceeded to assault Goff with a knife, ultimately taking his life. The gruesome nature of the crime and the young age of both the victim and the perpetrator deeply shook the community. The motive behind Hernandez's heinous act has been the subject of speculation and analysis. Some reports suggest that he had a morbid fascination with serial criminals, regularly researching their lives and methods. Additionally, it was discovered that he kept a journal filled with disturbing writings and drawings depicting violence. These elements, combined with a desire for notoriety, may have contributed to his decision to commit such a terrible crime. Following his arrest, Hernandez faced a trial that began in 2008. The prosecution presented compelling evidence, including surveillance footage and testimonies from classmates, which established the premeditated and calculated nature of his crime. Despite being only 14 at the time of the crime, Hernandez was tried as an adult, sparking significant debate about the appropriate punishment for juvenile offenders. In 2008, the court found Hernandez guilty of first-degree murder, and the young criminal was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Tears welled up in his eyes upon hearing the devastating sentence. This sentence underscored the severity of his crime, and the judge was convinced that he posed a significant threat to society. The decision to give a life sentence to a juvenile offender was highly controversial and brought attention to the challenges faced by the juvenile justice system, the potential for rehabilitation, and the delicate balance between punishment and redemption. Since his conviction, Hernandez made several attempts to appeal his sentence and have it overturned, arguing that his age should be taken into consideration. However, he never got a chance to leave prison, and in 2021, at the age of 31, he passed away behind bars. The autopsy revealed that Hernandez was morbidly obese, standing at 5'10" and weighing 285 pounds, and had cardiac arrhythmia. The case of Michael Hernandez serves as a tragic reminder of the consequences of untreated mental health issues and the potential dangers of exposure to violent media. It highlights the complexities of the juvenile justice system, where the difficult balance between punishment and rehabilitation remains a subject of ongoing debate and reflection. Nathaniel Brazil. Nathaniel Brazil became widely known for his involvement in a tragic and highly publicized crime that took place in Lake Worth, Florida in 2000. Born in October 1986, Brazil was only 13 years old when he committed an act that would forever change his life and the lives of those involved. On May 26, 2000, Nathaniel Brazil brought a stolen, unloaded handgun to Lake Worth Middle School, where he was a student. He entered his English classroom and had a confrontation with his teacher, Barry Gruesome, who had reportedly reprimanded him earlier in the day. During the confrontation, Brazil tragically shot Gruesome in the head, resulting in his untimely death. The incident sent shockwaves through the community and garnered national attention due to the young age of the perpetrator and the senselessness of the crime. It raised numerous questions about gun control, school safety, and the influence of the media on the behavior of young individuals. Brazil was arrested shortly after the shooting and charged with first-degree murder. Despite his age, he stood trial as an adult due to the severity of the offense. During the trial proceedings, Nathaniel's defense attorney argued that the crime was not committed intentionally. The defense also suggested that the gun had accidentally fired during a struggle between Brazil and Gruesome. However, the prosecution argued that Brazil had brought the gun to the school with the intention of causing harm. In 2001, Nathaniel Brazil was found guilty of second-degree murder and aggravated assault with a firearm. He was sentenced to 28 years in jail, with eligibility for parole only after serving a minimum of 25 years. While in prison, Brazil's case continued to receive attention, with some advocating for his release and others arguing for the upholding of his sentence. Over the years, there were legal challenges and appeals related to his case, but ultimately, Nathaniel's sentence and conviction were upheld. Currently, Brazil is serving his sentence at the Jackson Correctional Institution and is scheduled to be released on May 18, 2028. During his time in prison, he successfully completed his General Educational Development Program and obtained certification as a paralegal, embarked. Embarked stands as an exceptionally rare case of a child serial killer, earning the title of the world's youngest serial killer for allegedly claiming 3 lives before the age of 8. He was born in the village of Musahar in Bihar, India, to parents who struggled to make ends meet. Amarjit was a somewhat solitary child who found solace in activities such as climbing trees and exploring the local area. However, his life took a disturbing turn when his aunt, who had secured a job in the city, entrusted him with the care of her child and his younger sister while she settled into her new job. Under his watch, Amarjit reportedly engaged in shocking acts of cruelty. It began with pinching and slapping the baby, seemingly deriving amusement from the infant's cries. Disturbingly, his actions escalated as he placed his hands around the baby's throat in an attempt to suffocate it. After killing his cousin, he buried the baby beneath grass and returned home. When Amarjit confessed to his mother, she was understandably shocked. Although his father physically punished him for the crime, they chose not to involve the police and fabricated a story for the aunt. His next victim was his 8-month-old sister, whom he strangled while his parents slept. According to his uncle, some family members were aware of the crimes, but they considered them as family matters. The crimes remained unreported until Amarjit killed a third baby in 2007. His alleged final victim was a 6-month-old baby girl named Ushu. Her mother, a neighbor, reported her daughter missing after leaving her to sleep at a primary school. Amarjit reportedly admitted to strangling the baby and hitting her with a brick. He then led villagers to the location where he had buried her. Amarjit was taken into custody by the police, where he confessed to the murder of his sister 3 months earlier and his cousin a year earlier. The killings had been carried out in a similar manner. While Amarjit often wore a smirk, he mostly remained silent. Under Indian law, a child cannot be sent to prison. Instead, they can be detained at a children's home until they reach the age of 18. Psychiatric tests indicated that Amarjit suffered from conduct disorders, and he was placed in a home in the town of Munga. James Fairweather. James Fairweather, also known as the Colchester Killer, was born in 1999 and gained notoriety as one of the youngest convicted serial criminals in the United Kingdom. His dark chapter unfolded in Colchester, Essex between March and June 2014 when he was just 15 years old. During this period, Fairweather embarked on a gruesome spree of crimes, claiming the lives of 2 innocent individuals. The first victim was James Atfield, a 33-year-old man with brain damage who frequented the town's parks. Fairweather targeted Atfield in a savage attack, brutally assaulting him with a knife over 100 times. The following morning, a horrified passerby discovered Atfield's lifeless body, sending shockwaves through the community. Only 2 months later, Fairweather struck again, selecting another unsuspecting victim. This time, his target was Nahid Al-Mania, a 31-year-old Saudi Arabian student simply walking to the University of Essex. Fairweather ambushed her, assaulted her with a knife, and callously left her to succumb to her injuries on the path. The series of brutal crimes plunged Colchester into a state of fear and panic as residents grappled with the terrifying realization that a young, seemingly unassuming teenager could commit such heinous acts. The police worked tirelessly to apprehend the criminal, leaving no stone unturned in their investigation. In a twist of fate, Fairweather's capture resulted from his own chilling boasts and threats made to a friend. Alarmed by his unsettling statements, the friend bravely reported them to the authorities, leading to Fairweather's arrest in June 2014. During police questioning, Fairweather confessed to his crimes, further solidifying his guilt. He claimed to have heard voices that urged him to make sacrifices. In 2015, Fairweather stood trial and was convicted on 2 counts of murder. The judge recognized the severity and brutality of his actions, and Fairweather was handed a sentence of 27 years. The court acknowledged that he posed a significant risk to the public, serving as a chilling reminder of the destructive capabilities that can lurk within such a young individual. James Fairweather's name will forever be associated with a dark chapter in the history of Colchester. His crimes serve as a chilling reminder that evil can emerge unexpectedly, and that vigilance, empathy, and preventive measures are essential in ensuring the safety and well-being of communities. Brenda Spencer. Brenda Spencer's name is forever associated with a tragic event that profoundly impacted the nation and brought attention to the challenges surrounding mental health and firearm access. Born on April 3, 1962 in San Diego, California, Spencer's actions on January 29, 1979, left an indelible mark on her community, raising profound questions about the motives driving such acts of violence. At the age of 16, Spencer committed a heinous act that forever altered many lives. Armed with a .22 caliber rifle, she positioned herself near a window in her home overlooking Grover Cleveland Elementary School. In a shocking display of violence, she indiscriminately opened fire, targeting innocent victims without remorse. The consequences of Spencer's actions were devastating, resulting in the tragic loss of 2 lives and leaving 9 others injured. Principal Burton Ragg and custodian Mike Susha were among the victims whose untimely deaths sent shockwaves throughout the community. This senseless act of violence left many grappling to comprehend how a young teenager could harbor such darkness within. In the aftermath of her arrest, Spencer's infamous response to the question of her motive only deepened the mystery. When asked why she had done it, she callously replied, "I don't like Mondays." This chilling statement left observers astounded and perplexed as they searched for answers to provide some understanding in the face of such an inexplicable act. As the legal proceedings unfolded, it became evident that Spencer's troubled upbringing had played a significant role in shaping her path. Reports revealed a history of violent tendencies and depression. It was discovered that she had developed a fascination with firearms, even requesting a gun as a Christmas gift, which her father regrettably granted. In 1980, Spencer faced trial for her crimes and was found guilty of multiple charges, including taking lives and multiple counts of assault with a deadly weapon. Due to her status as a minor at the time of the offenses, she was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Despite numerous appeals over the years, Spencer's sentence has been upheld, and she remains incarcerated. Her case stands as a solemn reminder of the far-reaching consequences of violent acts and underscores the critical importance of addressing mental health concerns at an early stage. Additionally, it reignited discussions about the need for stricter gun control measures to prevent firearms from falling into the wrong hands, especially those struggling with mental health issues. Edmund Kemper, also known as the co-ed killer, is a notorious American serial criminal who committed a series of gruesome crimes in the 1970s. His shocking acts of violence and the chilling nature of his offenses have earned him a place as one of the most infamous and extensively studied serial criminals in history. Born in 1948 in Burbank, California, Kemper exhibited disturbing behavior from a young age. He had a troubled relationship with his parents, particularly his mother, towards whom he harbored deep resentment. Kemper's childhood was marked by violent fantasies and the tormenting and killing of animals, often considered warning signs of future violent tendencies. Kemper's criminal activities began in 1964 when he was just 15 years old. He took the lives of both his grandparents, shooting his grandmother and attacking his grandfather with a knife. Kemper later claimed that these acts were driven by his desire to experience the sensation of taking someone's life and to exert control over life and death. After spending years in a mental institution, Kemper was released in 1969, despite concerns raised by psychiatrists about his potential for violence. Tragically, their fears were validated. Kemper went on to commit a series of brutal crimes in the early 1970s, primarily targeting young women, earning him the infamous nickname co-ed killer. Kemper often picked up hitchhiking college students, bringing them to isolated locations where he would strangle and dismember them. His violent tendencies escalated further, culminating in the murder of his own mother and her friend in 1973. He decapitated his mother and engaged in disturbing acts involving her body before disposing of it. Following this, he voluntarily surrendered to the police, confessing to the series of horrifying crimes that had terrorized California. In 1973, Kemper was found guilty of 8 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Despite his heinous crimes, Kemper has been a subject of fascination for researchers and psychologists due to his high level of intelligence and articulate nature. Throughout his time in prison, he cooperated with psychological and criminal profiling experts, providing valuable insights into his mind and the motivations behind his crimes. His case has significantly contributed to our understanding of serial criminals. Alyssa Bustamante. Alyssa Bustamante, born in 1994 in Missouri, became infamous for committing a chilling crime at a young age that reverberated throughout the nation. On October 21, 2009, when she was only 15 years old, Bustamante brutally assaulted her 9-year-old neighbor Elizabeth Fulton in their St. Martin's neighborhood. Bustamante lured Elizabeth into the woods, where she strangled her and proceeded to assault her with a knife. After taking her life, she buried Elizabeth's body in a shallow grave, attempting to conceal the evidence of her horrifying crime. The true motive behind Bustamante's actions was later unveiled during her trial. Testimony revealed that she had a troubled childhood marked by neglect and abuse. She also grappled with mental health issues, including depression and a history of self-harm. Bustamante had displayed a disturbing fascination with death and violence, as evidenced by her writings and drawings. The shocking nature of the crime and Bustamante's young age ignited a nationwide debate on the appropriate punishment for juvenile offenders. Some argued for leniency, considering her age and the potential for rehabilitation. On the other hand, many believed that the severity of the crime warranted harsher punishment. In 2012, Bustamante pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and armed criminal action. She was sentenced to life in prison with conditional release in 2024. Bustamante's case drew attention to the importance of early intervention and mental health support for troubled youth in the country. It underscored the need for accessible resources and a comprehensive approach to addressing underlying issues that can lead to acts of extreme violence. Bustamante's crime was undeniably horrific, and notably, she had made a journal entry that evening in which she documented the shocking event. Since her conviction, Bustamante has continued to be the subject of public interest and scrutiny. Some argue that her young age at the time of the crime and her potential for rehabilitation should be taken into consideration for a possible reduction in her sentence. Others maintain that the punishment is fitting given the severity of her actions. T.J. Lane, whose full name is Thomas Michael Lane III, gained infamy for committing a notorious school shooting that sent shockwaves throughout the United States. Born on September 19, 1994, Lane grew up to become one of the most reviled teenage criminals in the world, leaving a lasting impact on the lives of the victims' families and drawing attention to the critical issue of school safety. On February 27, 2012, at the age of just 17, Lane carried out a tragic event at Chardon High School in Chardon, Ohio. Armed with a .22 caliber handgun, he targeted students in the cafeteria during breakfast. His actions resulted in the fatal shooting of 3 students and injuries to 3 others. The victims were Daniel Parmertor, Demetrius Hewlin, and Russell King Jr. The motive behind Lane's attack remains a subject of speculation and debate. Some reports suggest that personal grievances or feelings of resentment may have motivated him, while others point to mental health issues as a contributing factor. Lane's troubled background, including a history of behavioral problems and a difficult family life, added to the complexity of the case. Following the shooting, Lane was apprehended by a teacher who managed to subdue him until the authorities arrived. He was subsequently arrested on multiple charges. During his trial, Lane displayed little remorse for his actions and even smirked and made inappropriate gestures in the courtroom. He wore a t-shirt with an obscene and disrespectful word written on it and addressed the victims' families in a degrading manner. In March 2013, Lane was found guilty of all the charges against him and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge described his actions as pure evil and emphasized the need to protect society from someone capable of such violence. The Chardon High School shooting sent shockwaves throughout the country, sparking discussions about gun control, school safety measures, and the mental health of young individuals. This tragic incident prompted communities to reflect on the importance of identifying and addressing signs of distress and violent tendencies in troubled youth. The impact of Lane's actions on the victims' families and the Chardon community cannot be overstated. The tragedy profoundly changed their lives, leaving them with enduring grief and trauma. However, the community also rallied together in support of one another, displaying resilience and a commitment to healing. Craig Price. Craig Price, also known as the War Slasher, gained notoriety as a convicted serial criminal whose chilling crimes captivated public attention in Warwick, Rhode Island during the late 1980s. Price's actions raised profound questions about the nature of evil and the complexities of the criminal justice system. Born on October 11, 1973, Craig Price displayed violent tendencies from an early age, engaging in animal cruelty and exhibiting aggressive behavior. However, it was in 1987, at the tender age of 13, that Price embarked on a spree of brutal assaults that sent shockwaves through the community. His first victim was Rebecca Spencer, a 27-year-old woman whom he encountered while she was jogging near her home. Price broke into her house, brutally attacked her, and left her lifeless body behind. Less than a year later, he struck again, targeting a neighborhood couple, Joan Heaton, and her two daughters, Jennifer and Melissa. Breaking into their home, he brutally assaulted all three victims. The Warwick community was gripped with fear as the unidentified criminal remained at large. Eventually, suspicion fell on Craig Price, given his history of violent behavior and prior involvement with the police. In 1989, Price was arrested after a witness came forward with incriminating information, and he eventually confessed to the crimes. The shocking aspect of Price's crimes lies not only in their brutality but also in his age at the time of their commission. At just 15 years old, Price became one of the youngest serial criminals in American history, sparking debates about juvenile violence and the appropriate response from the criminal justice system. Due to his age, Price was initially convicted as a juvenile and sentenced to serve time in a youth detention facility until his 21st birthday. However, his violent tendencies persisted while in custody, and he assaulted fellow inmates, tragically taking the life of one. This led to a reassessment of his case, and in 1992, Price was convicted and sentenced to a lengthy prison term. Throughout his incarceration, Craig Price has remained a highly controversial figure. He has shown little remorse for his crimes and has been involved in further violent incidents within prison walls. Despite the potential for rehabilitation, Price's actions and behavior have raised doubts about the possibility of his eventual release. Currently, Craig Price remains incarcerated in a Rhode Island prison, serving the punishments for his crimes. These stories serve as a reminder that the capacity for evil exists at any age. Beaver Brothers. The news may refer to them as Beaver, but this is the story of the Beaver brothers, Robert and Michael Beaver. In 2015, they were involved in a horrific and tragic crime that shook the community of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. The brothers orchestrated a brutal attack on their own family members, resulting in the loss of their parents and siblings. On July 22, 2015, the Beaver brothers executed their plan inside their family home. Armed with knives and a hatchet, they launched a vicious assault on their parents, David and April Beaver, as well as their younger siblings. The attack was characterized by extreme brutality and mercilessness, claiming the lives of their parents and two of their siblings, Daniel and Victoria Beaver. Two other siblings who were present during the attack managed to survive, but suffered severe injuries. The motive behind this heinous act remains a subject of speculation and ongoing investigation. Reports suggest that the brothers shared a fascination with violence, adding a disturbing layer of complexity to their actions. During the subsequent interrogation, Michael Beaver disclosed disturbing details about the tragic incident. According to reports, Michael revealed that they had a predetermined goal, similar to other criminals. In the sequence of the attack, Michael called his sister into a room, diverting her attention while his brother attacked her. Their mother was then targeted, followed by their father. At this point, their brother Daniel had barricaded himself in his bedroom, desperately seeking help by calling 911. Tragically, Michael deceived Daniel by falsely claiming that Robert was also after him and urged him to open the door for safety. Trusting his brother's words, Daniel allowed Michael entry, unknowingly disconnecting the 911 call in the process. Robert swiftly followed, intent on completing the gruesome act. The older sister managed to escape and sought refuge outside, triggering the activation of the house alarm. However, Michael promptly disabled the alarm and forcibly brought her back into the house, subjecting her to more violence. Meanwhile, two younger siblings aged 5 and 7 sought shelter by locking themselves in a bathroom. Michael, once again employing manipulation, convinced them to unlock the door under the false pretense that Robert was attacking everyone. Tragically, Michael proceeded to take the life of his 7-year-old brother, while Robert assaulted the 5-year-old sibling. Thankfully, a knock on the door interrupted the ongoing brutality, and the police arrived promptly, thanks to Daniel's desperate call for help. This intervention halted the violent spree. Following their arrest, Robert and Michael Beaver were charged with multiple crimes. The severity of the charges and the heinous nature of the crimes resulted in them being tried as adults. In 2016, Robert Beaver pleaded guilty to 5 counts of first-degree murder, receiving multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. Michael Beaver, on the other hand, opted to go to trial. In 2018, he was found guilty on all charges and was also sentenced to multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole.